Trade Masters produced by Tackle Trading. This is Coach Matt, and I got two wonderful coaches here to break down some technical action in the market for you swing and position traders. And if you love good technical setups, you're going to love Trade Masters. So hit that like, share it with a friend, and let's have some fun as we get dialed in into Trade Masters here today. And for those of you that are catching Trade Masters for the first time, we have two rounds. Round one, the coaches go head to head with two of their favorite picks. We do the exact same thing in round two. We have a discussion on all the picks, and then we select which ones we like the most in round one and round two. And oftentimes, the coach is going to be like, well, I like my pick, but I love Bobby's pick. I'm not just saying that's going to happen here in just a second. I'm just saying it does happen every
It does
now
happen.
and then. With that said, before we get cooking too much, we are in our holiday educational season at Tackle Trading, the five-star rated Tackle Trading, the best education company in the financial market by a mile. Now, I'm a little biased, but it's also a true statement. Number
Yep.
one rated company according to Trustpilot, five-star, you name it. And in our
They could find a
education
high.
team, we do a bunch of webinars. And if you want to attend any of them, we got day trading coming up next Monday. Then we got the monthly master trader class, which is the best technical analysis course, bar none. And then we got the beautiful covered call class called the Tackle 25. Those are over the next 3 weeks. And if you did happen to miss the AI Gold Rush webinar, we had a ton of fun. I covered a ton of ground. You can catch that replay at the live events page, and that is in the description below. With that said, Frankie, let's talk about the market here, and then we'll get into the picks. You know, in the newsletter this weekend, Frankie, I talked about the need for specific pattern development. I talked about the need for either a flag or a high base. And the reason I felt like that was extremely important, and we absolutely got our high base here, but the reason I felt that was important because this move here on the recovery over the course of last week was done on low volume. And don't get me wrong, the Bulls won every significant battle on the intraday, but now you're starting to see it develop into a daily pattern. Intraday's one thing, daily's another thing, weekly's another thing. And so we got that high base that we called for. You look at the intraday side of the equation. We break these things down with our team every single day in the Traders Lounge. You look at this, and guess what, Frankie? Market tried to break out late in the market here today. I do feel like if we didn't get that volatility before the cash opened based on that Microsoft fake news, we would have been propelling into that 6,900. I was very impressed by the Bulls recovering off that volatility this morning, right back up into the range, trying to break out here, looking pretty decent. And if you want to digest all of that, once again, we do that in the lounge, and we write about the technical landscape in the Tackle Trading newsletter each and every single week. With that said, Frankie, we got our base. I kind of like the development here, and we
Oh
do
yeah.
know there's a lot of stocks out there setting up, and the swing traders are getting a little bit more excitable here. Frankie, let's go to you. Round one. You're the veteran here. You get a pick. Who goes first? Is the Bobby D go? You go? What you gonna do here?
Listen, we didn't get to do Trade Masters last week because it was Thanksgiving week. So I'm going to jump in. I want to talk about a chart. So I'll kick us off here today. And I'm going to start with CCJ. CCJ is in a really, really intriguing scenario right now. Big gap up there, then basically sold off along with the market, right? So you could maybe make a case that it's CCJ's fault. I'm going to make a case that it just kind of rolled with the market, and we're kind of in that recovery phase right now, battling that big cluster of moving averages on that daily chart, just trying to puncture right back above them. But to me, this really is, and if everybody at Tackle Trading had a nickel for every time I said the 20 weekly, they'd probably be able to buy himself a little something, something. That's really what this is. This was a snapback into the 20 weekly, fired back last week. Just looks like I just need a little confirmation, right? And we're trying to get it on that daily chart. So really any more upward movement in price, I have it over yesterday's high, but really anything over that level, to me, we open right back up towards those highs in that 110 range. That's at least where my head is at on this. with the time that we've taken over the course of the last 4 trading sessions in particular, you've also had the chance to get that 9 EMA to start smiling at you.
Mhm.
You know, I love me a smiling 9. Don't ever like fighting that 9. That's just no good in my eyes. But now we actually have that as an additional support catalyst, right? Along with the current, lows of the past couple of weeks. And while it is only, Wednesday right now, that also coincides with the weekly candlestick low, right? And so really this is a build kind of off of, yes, the last few days of price action, but really kind of anchoring against that weekly time frame. What I love about CCJ is there's a lot of ways you can play this bad boy, right? There's a lot of things that you can do with these guys. You want shares, you want to, do some covered calls, you want to lob some puts or some put spreads. I'm sure you can get away with it. But
Before we get
me, Manny.
into strategy here, Frankie, can I ask you a couple questions very
Yeah,
quickly
of
on the
course.
technicals here? Um, Pretty consistent resistance zone right around the 90 area.
Yep.
You could argue maybe slightly under, but I do think the Wix suggests 90 is kind of the number here.
Yeah, I got it at
Um,
90.39.
Given the fact that we have a couple wicks above, nothing too aggressive, nothing too crazy, but do you need to see a close, i.e., confirmation here before you launch that strategy? And I kind of know your strategy, and I definitely want you to walk through it, but just from a confirmation perspective, are you looking for confirmation first, or is the environment zone levels good enough for you right now?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I could see a solid answer on both sides. So I don't really think there is a wrong answer to that question. For me, it kind of makes sense that we've been kind of wicking where we've been wicking. So I think as long as you are taking out the high, not just 90, I think it's 90.39. Let me make sure I'm not
Yeah,
lying.
the wick yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday's candle of 90.39. I think you can look at an entry above that level.
Yeah.
I do believe you. I don't think there's anything wrong if you are on the other side of that argument. Be like, no, let's get a close and then build off of that. I got no problem with that. I don't think I need it in this particular case, but it's always an option, right?
Yeah.
On a
So
deeper
as long
pullback.
as you get above yesterday's wick, you feel like you got it edged good enough.
I feel
But
like
if
yeah,
somebody else came in and were like, listen, environment's still a little concerning. Let's see that ultimate confirmation. That's obviously not a flaw there. Awesome.
exactly,
And
exactly.
team, if you guys have any questions as one of the coaches is going through their analysis, or quite frankly, you have any questions on the market itself, make sure to put them into the comment section. We'll definitely answer those along the way as well. Continue on the strategy conversation there, Frankie.
So yeah, I mean, to me, this is kind of a work back up towards those highs conversation, right? I don't think you're taking CCJ if you're just looking for a mellow little base hitter. Personally, this is when I think you're kind of swinging at a little bit. I tend to like debit spreads for a lot of reasons, but I think
Mhm.
they fit really good in scenarios like this where you can kind of build. Well, this is kind of a swing, so I can maybe start a little bit out of the money. And so we kind of talked earlier. I think there's really two that stood out to me: the 90 by 100 or the 95 by 105. Now, the 95 by 105 is the one that I prefer. It's also the more aggressive one, but I believe, and I'm going into January. Just December's too tight, right?
Yeah.
Going into January, I don't feel like it is going to. I feel like we do have enough time in that case. So the 95 by 105 is about an ATR beyond kind of that triggering price, right? I would expect if there's any oomph to this bad boy, we get that to 95 relatively quickly,
Yeah.
right? And then of course the 105 is kind of up towards that resistance level. But what's really appealing about a spread like this is by taking that little bit more aggressive stance, we all of a sudden have a really big risk to reward type of scenario, right? Coming in
Yeah.
right around $2.30 on a $10 spread. So your risk to reward is very, very solid
Mhm.
at that resistance level. I wouldn't want to go too much further out. I mean, I like starting out of the money, but not far out of the money on a debit spread.
Yeah.
Lowers the cost. Whenever you lower the cost on a spread, by default, you're also increasing the reward. Those two go hand in hand every single time you're looking at a spread. So the cheaper you get it, not only is it cheaper and thus less risk, it's also bigger reward. So I do like the 95 by 105 at around that 230 level. Might be a hair above that
Since
when
it's
and
an
if we.
option spread, position size to risk.
I would, but if you wanted to go
Open it
about
up, put a stop loss
if you wanted
50%.
to open up
Perfectly fine.
50%, should get you kind of this recent low of the last few trading sessions, right? So it would kind of give you that. I think either plays, and 50% is probably where I would go if I was doing a stop.
I was going to say, when you're dealing with bull call spreads, and that's what Frank is talking about, is doing an option spread called the bull call spread here, where when you're buying the slightly out of the money call option, selling it deeper out of the money call option. You're basically either going to position size according to risk, meaning whatever your personal risk roll in your portfolio. Usually on something like this, it's somewhere maxed out at 4%, but usually around 2 to 4% here. Or two, if you're looking at being a little bit more aggressive on position size, you would definitely anchor on stop loss right around the 50% level.
Yeah, I think I don't have any beef with putting stops on debit spreads as a general rule. You just can't really get away with a tight spread as a general
No,
rule
no,
on a
I
debit
remember one
spread.
of the first stop losses I was taught as an option trader was 30% of the option spread.
Yep, yep.
And I'm like, after like 20 tries, I'm like, I kind of feel like I'm getting stopped out a little too much here.
Yeah, it's a
I think
graded theory.
50% is a much better number, honestly.
I do too. The first thing I was taught was 30%. The first thing I did was like, oh, I'm not doing that math all the time. So I just bumped it to a third. But then I did the exact same thing that you did.
Yeah.
So work into the 50. And I think that does give you a fair amount of wiggle room if that is your preferred
Can
style.
I ask you a question on the setup? Because I know you're going a little bit conservative on strategy, and you're matching an aggressive entry here. I love your analysis here, Frankie. But my question is, what about somebody who's looking at this same thing? Because I guarantee Coach Mark's already sold naked puts.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
think we
yeah,
all
that's a
know
given.
that.
Yeah, that's a given. Yeah,
It was good enough 6 days ago.
yeah, yeah, yes. I think yes.
But let's say somebody is more of that moonshot type dude, right? Where rip the face off, call option, direction. Is this a setup that could justify something like that? Or is the reason you're doing a spread more because the overall concern technically?
No, it really is mostly preference. If someone
Yeah.
wanted just to pop a call, I'm not a pop a call guy. I don't like buying calls. I feel better
When you
having a
sell
hedge.
something.
I feel better when I sell something.
Yeah.
I just do. I feel like
The
I
Wall
got me
Street
a theta
mindset.
hedge. I got me a volatility hedge. I'm cheapening the trade out a little bit. It's easier to follow my rule of if you can't have two, you can't have one. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot of reasons. And so generally, if it's a scenario, I mean, there are a few exceptions, of course, but generally, if I'm looking at something, I'm really thinking about whether you wanted to play it with the shares or pop the call or do the debit spread. I kind of look
Yeah.
at them all the same thing. And then Frank has his preference just like everybody else does. So I would have no problem if you like, look, don't be a coward, Frank. Let's just pop this call, target up to that
I like the
110.
bull
Yeah.
call spread a little bit more here too. And again, whenever I think about bull call spreads, yeah, you're limiting your cost, you're mitigating your risk. But I always kind of thought just the proper way to think about it is I'm buying a good option and selling a bad option type
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's a great
Uh,
way to
yeah.
think about it, and it naturally mellows it out, right? Hey, if this
Mhm.
just has a big 10-point day tomorrow, I'll wish I just would have popped the call too. I'm not a crazy
Oh, of
person, right?
course. Yeah,
But
of
when things are
course.
going back and forth, that works both ways, right? You sit and stare
Frankie,
at a
how
call
many
option.
times after you've done some risk mitigation strategy where you're selling
Yeah,
something to offset something, and then the following day it just skyrockets? Like maybe I shouldn't have hedged.
what did I?
These are
Those are the
normal
best,
trading
and these are the
conversations.
best things to complain about. I hope we complain about them till the end of time because that means
Oh,
you're
when
complaining about
people in
profits.
naked puts complain about only making what they sold, I'm like, should you really ever complain about only
We don't
making what you
we're
sold?
traders, so yes, we will complain
Oh,
about
we'll
those
find
things,
something. We'll find something.
but
There's
those are
no
the
doubt
things
about
we
that.
want to be
There's
complaining
no
about,
doubt
right?
about that.
Those are good
All
complaints.
right, Frankie, love the pick here. CCJ, clean break against that 90 level. Looking at a bull call spread, a 95 by 105, 10-point spread. Also looking at the 44-day contract on that. Lots of ways to navigate that from a confirmation perspective. Love the pick there, Frankie. Love the breakdown. Love the analysis. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Bobby D, you're gonna have to bring that A game to beat the CCJ setup. Bull call spread, cheap contracts at 250, having the ability on a better return to risk ratio with a probable edge. What do you got here, Bobby? Can you beat it?
Frank did, started strong here, but I think my pick here might be able to, hold up to him. I'm going to go with TSM, Taiwan Semiconductors. After watching your Gold Rush, webinar on Monday, you sold me, on a lot of these plays, these AI plays, and keeping them on my radar, all week, and all the other AI stocks tier one. Um, this one stuck out to me, and I think where this is up right now, if you kind of go to the weekly chart here, when you're looking at this weekly chart, kind of what we were discussing in pre-production is this is kind of in that Elliott, wave, the fifth wave of the Elliott wave. And um, I think that tells you a lot. You got that big momentum up, got that little pullback, another big momentum up into this 311 zone, then back down into a little, like Frank said with CCJ, caught up in the volatility. And so you got your little pullback here. And I think, TSM right now, with this cluster of moving averages here on the daily, you got your confirmation candle today, I think. And
Hmm.
um, I would consider this as a king's bed. For me on a king's bed pattern, I know you guys were discussing this with the CTJ pick. I do like that confirmation. You do. The reason being is you do knock on that, resistance zone multiple times. So you do want to see some type of confirmation, whether it's a close or depending on, close above, or, if you want to get a little aggressive, you can, enter over that resistance zone. But, for this one here on TSM, I like this. I like this structure here. You did get your confirmation, and I think there's, a lot of room to run higher, especially, it seems like there's a little bit of rotation in the market. It was favoring defensive. Now defensive is, I wouldn't say it's out of favor, but, it's going back more into technology here. So, and I think Marvel might have helped that a little bit with their earnings. Today they looked like they
They
had
they had a
earnings.
decent earnings, 2% beat on the EPS, revenue expansion, and guidance, slight expansion on the guidance side too. And when you're talking about old Marvell, also talking about a mid-tier breakout, obviously needs to
Yeah.
get dialed in here, but it certainly did help Taiwan. And I
Yeah.
also thought what was positive for Taiwan is Taiwan was getting caught up in the Microsoft and Nvidia earlier today, recovered very well on that hammer.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think like you just said, Marvel definitely played a role with a lot of these semiconductors today. Um, Structure wise on here, for me, you can play this in multiple different ways on TSM. Just looking at the options, I was, playing around with a lot of different. What I like to do when I build my options, I like to go to, out. What's the farthest I can go out? So like for January, I was looking at January's first. What could I, build on January? And I was looking around, and there's definitely some decent, you could do a spread play. I would definitely favor, especially with the price of the stock, a bull call spread. So
Mhm.
I would probably go out a little bit out of the money, like a 310 buy, or 310 buy, 350, 350, what is it, 310
I
buy.
think you would either do if you started at the 310, you'd probably get the 340 to
Yeah.
offset, is
Hmm.
what I would say.
Yeah.
That creates a little bit of a 22 delta difference, which will expand because you're starting out of the money.
Yeah.
That will expand to like a 25 delta. That's why me and Frank love starting slightly out of the money bulk call spreads, is because they might only have like a 20 to 22 delta when you do it. But when that first strike price gets in the money, the
Yeah.
deltas expand a little bit, and you're right at 25. It's a little bit of a technique to front run a little bit of the spread itself. So 310, 340 would be kind of the standard version of an out of the money bull call spread right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if someone's having problems, trying to figure out a target, whether they want to target the pivot high or whatever, I also was looking at just a little bit more of an advanced strategy, a broken leg butterfly. I went out 9 days, and I think what I built on this one was a 320 by 330 by 335, a little
Little
22,
cheapy,
little cheapy. If
little
someone,
chippy.
if
Little
it's too
cheapy.
pricey to do a bull call spread, you can, go down, 9 days and do a little cheapy for 22 cents to see if, you can catch a little bit of momentum up to that pivot high. Um, so that was another, strategy I was looking at on TSM too, just with the price tag. But I guess, when looking at the stock, for me, entry would be, would be over today if I was going to do a swing trade on this. Entry
Yeah, I think over
over.
the high is perfectly fine on a confirmation candle, whatever your ATR rule of choice is, but over the high is fine.
Yeah, and for stop loss, you can either go below today's candle, or I was even looking at the and the Monday candle. You can go below there. It just depends on where your targets are. My first scale out would be with this pivot high of 311. That's where I would take action with either scaling out half of a position or even moving my stop. Um, my T1 would probably be into that two maybe 320 zone into the 330 would be my T2.
Love it, love it. And Sunita, yeah, we say cheapy with a certain degree of respect on that tone.
Oh yeah.
we
Oh yeah.
we
We
don't
like
say
cheapies.
cheapy as a negative in any capacity. Tackle trading loves their cheapy
We love
spreads.
cheapies.
There is no doubt about that. Cheapies on Taiwan on a breakout play very, very well. I personally like the bull call spread a little bit more than the cheapy, but if somebody said cheapy, I'm not going to say a stinking word to that. That's perfectly fine there.
Nothing wrong with a cheapie, right?
Okay, so let me kind of just reiterate here on Taiwan here. Bobby entry above the high, stop loss using either today's low if you're aggressive, Monday's low a little bit more conservatively, targeting 311 by the 325 level based on your longer term view of Elliott wave. Your technical skill set is getting very impressive, Bobby. Every time you mention Elliott wave, I just smile a little bit. Frank might die a little bit, like Frank's your official mentor, but like I'm just like, oh, I'm kind of taking over, Frankie. I'm kind of taking over, Frankie. He's
Listen, I'm good
talking
with it.
fibs and he's talking Elliott
That means I
wave.
don't have to. So do it. Keep
Uh,
doing what you're doing, Bobby.
You work for Frank.
but cheapy works here. Bull call spread, slide out of the money, 310 by that 340. Right around $6 price tag on that $295
Yeah,
stock
not
there. Not a
unreasonable at
bad
all.
position there at all. I really like the break here. I think it's got a really good edge to 311. Let's see what happens against that double tap at 311. But the weekly chart would say we got a little bit of room to run here. So let's see what happens. Like the break though. All right, we got a bull call spread on CCJ versus a bull call spread on Taiwan Semiconductor AI Gold Rush Tier 1 AI Gold Rush. We got to put some respect on that Tier 1. Those Tier
Yes,
1
sir.
companies are quite amazing, quite frankly. Taiwan Semiconductor, Frankie, which one do you like the most?
I got to stick with CCJ just because of the risk reward profile on the spread that we were looking at. I just that I think technically you're like twins, right? So maybe just a little bit more confirmation on Taiwan, but basically the same general type of chart. So I don't really know that there's a big edge on the technical side. I just, if I can get that spread at 230, 235, 240, I just, the risk to reward makes the decision for me, I
Yeah.
guess.
So you got, okay. And what about you, Bobby? CCJ or Taiwan Semiconductor? And the beautiful thing is we can do them all, but
Yes, sir.
which one do you like?
I like both, but I figured I would win Frank over by saying 22-cent cheapy, huh? Frank, but I probably would I'll probably go CCJ too, just because cheaper stock, like I love the structure of the bull
Mhm.
call spread, so I probably would go with that. I would do Taiwan Semiconductor too, but
Yeah.
if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick CCJ.
And I'll go next. And I have to say CCJ a little bit for me too. It's not that I don't love Taiwan. I absolutely
Oh, we
love
love
Taiwan
Taiwan around these
Semiconductor.
parts.
There's
Oh, yeah.
no disrespect happening on Taiwan Semiconductor. The difference is just really, really simple to me. They're both in a recovery situation. They're both in a pocket. And on Taiwan, you have a $295 stock with a 14-point pocket before you get into some really important resistance levels. When you come over here to CCJ, because it sold off a little bit more aggressively and because it had that pop going into that sell off, you now have a 20-point pocket on a $90 stock. And just from a return perspective, if
Mhm.
all things, if everything else is relatively equal, right? If bull call spread against bull call spread, recovery breakout versus recovery breakout, you like both spaces, right? If all things are relatively equal, you definitely like the pocket
The bigger
between the
window.
90 and the 100 a little bit more than you like the pocket between 295 and 310. type thing.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
so I'd say CCJ, but why don't you do a little bit of both? Why don't you do the bull call spread on CCJ and do the cheapie on Taiwan
There you
Semiconductor?
go. Love it.
Yeah.
That makes sense too. I like it. Adam, Taiwan Semiconductor cheapie for you. Fantastic. Linda, do you love them both? But I am Taiwan Semiconductor. Just Linda, I love you so much. You're
Because she
fantastic.
was voting
Of
for
course you went with the
today.
more aggressive trade. Of course you did. That's why I love Linda. She's okay. Omar, can I get URA? You know what? I do like the CCJ technical setup a little bit better in general than URA,
You're just
but
ahead of you're
I
just
kind
ahead.
of feel like they're gonna run together. Like I feel like CCJ's cleaner, but if CCJ works out, I have a hard time not seeing URA work out. Like, what's your thoughts there, Frankie?
Yeah, you just have challenges on it that you don't have on CCJ, and that'll always win, right? Like who's got the cleaner path. So if we're talking direction, like I said, they will have some degree of correlation, right? I mean, they're crazy to think otherwise. So you're definitely on the right track there, Omar. I just don't want to
It's
have
not
to deal with those
Omar.
things.
Reno. That's Reno.
Oh, that's
That's
Reno.
Oh, that's our
Reno.
boy Reno.
Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
okay. Um, now we can be a little bit more
A little
direct
bit
with
more.
Reno there,
Yeah, there you
Frankie.
go. Reno knows. Reno
Just
knows
kidding.
me.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I think like if you're playing cash flow, I think your sixes. I got no beef with it there. If you're playing directional, I just think you look at the chart versus the chart, and I don't think you can make a stronger argument for the chart of URA than
Yeah.
CCJ personally. I just don't think you can make that argument.
Yeah, you might be able to make that argument at 50 when you're breaking the 50 period moving
Maybe,
average.
maybe.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you could probably get there, but it is relatively underperforming CCJ's pattern. But I just kind of feel like one works, they both work type thing, but
There
CCJ is
will
the
be some
cleaner
of
one to
that for sure.
structure.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. If I'm talking directional, I want the cleaner window. If you're talking cash flow, I think your sixes, you can go whichever is your fave,
Yeah,
different name.
yeah, Reno, that's exactly where my head's at too. Like I have concern there. And if I didn't have the CCJ, like I would be right there with Frankie. I just feel like we're getting a little bit of edge here. All right, love the conversation. CCJ got the pick in round one. Let's go to round two here. Frankie went first in round one. We're doing snake draft here. Bobby D set the stage. Round two. Got to get Frank. Where are you going?
I'm gonna go with the healthcare pick here, and I'm gonna Amgen, AMGN.
Before you do your breakdown, can I just show the healthcare sector? Can we
I was
just?
actually gonna bring them up, so
Okay, I'm
I'll
glad you
allow it.
did. I'm glad you did, because one of the better
Woo.
technical pictures of the sector right now. And don't get me wrong, there's some other good sector setups. Like the market's getting a little bit better technically here. But healthcare has been the leader of the horse race recently. Healthcare has been the bullish sector recently. And the only thing we get is a shallow flag before the bulls step up, kind of like that. Bobby, sector looks pretty good here. You're going with the Amgen. Talk to us about this potential breakout.
yeah, I think Amgen, right now, Amgen is right at the top. If it breaks through the zone here, I mean, this 346.85, it's at its all-time highs. And I think that if you get that confirmation on that sector, XLV, I think Amgen's going to go with it. So nice little ascending triangle pattern here on the daily chart. We got the 9 sitting right at that 9. You got the 20 coming up there. I just think this is perfect. For me, I wouldn't mind having another two inside
High
candles.
inside would work out pretty good here, but
You get a
yeah.
couple, kind of build a ascending triangle here, but all you can do is add. So I'm not going to be picky. If it goes, I'm going to go with it. So Amjam here at the high. Expensive stock again here. You do got low IV on this, so this would definitely favor a bull call for me. The options on this one is pretty tricky though. After hours, very wide. So this would be something that I would look to, wait for that confirmation tomorrow and build tomorrow just to, see where you get, you probably get those closer, bid-ask spreads there. So I would wait till tomorrow to build something. But if I was to build something tonight, if I had to, it'd probably be out to January. I would try to build something with give me that 25 delta on a bull call spread here. Whether it's the 355, 365, 355, 370. So, I'd price it out tonight, check it out on the risk graph, and then just see tomorrow, once we get that confirmation of,
Mhm.
what's the price look like here. So, definitely, entry target wise, for me, like I said, get that confirmation above 34,638 before entering this trade. Stop loss, you could either, obviously, you can build the, risk to spread on an option play, or if you need to put a stop loss, and you can go obviously under today's candle. You can go under Monday's candle as well. Get you that, kind of that trend line of that ascending. Um,
Depending on the breakout, you might just have to say, give me the 9.
exact
You might,
that
Yeah.
yeah, you
that's
might.
where my head was at. If you had to put a stop, get that
Like
nine.
if you break out on a big candle, like it's going to be a 9 rider.
You'd be 9 riding. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, target wise, for me, I was looking, 360 would be my T1 into the 370. I know that's kind of, it's a 370 is actually not that far away. When you got a 15 ATR, so, or 15, 7 ATR, so it can make it up there. So I would, 360 by 370 would be my T1, T2 on this one.
I the only thing I would say to this, because this is a beautiful pattern on multiple time frame here. Consolidation daily chart, high base on the weekly chart, and the high base and the consolidation is happening legitimately right at
The
the
all-time high.
346 level, that all-time high level.
Right
And
there.
so when you look at kind of, where the market has been, you're kind of kissing up against that all-time high, but you're doing it with much, much, much better development than we went through last time. Like this has done nothing wrong in any capacity, and it was propelled because of an awesome earnings season in Amgen, and a great earnings season in general out of healthcare. One of the better sectors, in my opinion, and that's kind of propelled healthcare up, 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 up. There's been some other, fundamental scenarios, but we don't need to get into that. Looking pretty good on the overall breakout situation. The only thing I would kind of critique here, Bobby,
Mhm.
is the 360 to 370 target is conservative in my opinion. This thing has so what would that be? The base here is right around 80 points. Um, there could be some scenarios, not in a swing trade, but in a more longer duration position trade. Like 400 is not out of the equation here
Oh, absolutely.
with momentum. That
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Frankie, what's
Yeah.
your thoughts here technically?
Yeah, I mean, I echo Bobby's overall analysis there. I'm kind of between the two of you on the second
Mhm.
target because I like 360 for T1. That's basically the range that we've been in. Just I like when you're in a box, take the box. That's your target. That takes you to 360, right? That's the low hanging fruit. But your all time highs, you already have momentum. That would be a good case for reigniting that momentum. I don't think 400's outlandish either. I'd come in closer to 380 in the middle for my second target. But let's be honest, when you're all-time highs, these are good like debates
Yeah,
and things
it's
to have to
it's
worry about,
debatable,
right?
right? You're open air, like
Yep,
it's
you're
it's
open there. These
debatable,
we
and
want these. We don't want there's something at 365 that scares the pants off of us, right? We don't want that, right? So it's a good problem to have
No.
for sure. I do like the 360, and then I kind of like the idea of open her up, let the momentum take you where it takes you. If it's 370, sweet. If it's 400, even sweeter. If it's somewhere in the middle, sweet. Right.
Mm.
That's kind of where my brain would be on that secondary target. I would agree with you though. I have full expectation that Amgen does hit 400, just not. I don't expect that in a swing trade.
No, and again, I want to clarify. I
No, I
wouldn't
know you
expect
didn't.
that on a pure swing trade either,
Yes,
right? I'm saying in a more of a longer duration position
for
trade,
the position
when
trade.
you
Yeah.
when you look at the base of neutrality on the weekly chart, the base, according to Wyckoff
Oh,
theory,
it
is
would take you
is
well beyond 400.
right. And
So
so
yeah.
it's actually above 400. But I'm just saying more than anything, like we can debate the target. I agree with Reno too on those targets. You can say 363, you could say 370, you could say 375, you could say 380. You can go every 5 points all the way up to $400. And I don't think there's like a level that you could disagree with. But
Yeah.
that's what you get when you get into open air.
Yep.
And that's what the benefit of allowing momentum to play out there as well. I really like this pick on Amgen. And, obviously we got bull call spreads, but I also think that's kind of what the environment right now calls for, right? If the market wants to break out and start getting a leg, let's open up those risk graphs a little bit more. Let's get a little bit more confident. But developing into a high base underneath massive resistance levels is exciting,
It's
but
an
it's got to
exciting
come
move.
to the proper conclusion
Yep,
as well.
Yep.
absolutely.
So, all right, Frankie, we got the Amgen trade. What do you have? That's a beautiful
It's a beautiful multiple time frame
breakout
breakout. Yeah.
situation with proper development. Reno, I would say January is it depends on what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to achieve 400? No, January's not enough time. If you're trying to achieve a pure swing trade like Bobby set it up, I think January is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just depends
All
on
right,
your outlook.
Frankie, what you got going?
Yeah. Well, before I go, will you give me the copper chart? Just good old
Of
fashioned
course.
Dr. Copper. Dr. Copper getting a little froggy. This is a pretty nice little breakout that we've seen here on copper, which is intriguing, right? That's a pretty good look. I could maybe make an argument to pitch copper. That is not the argument that I'm going to make, though, Maddie.
I didn't think it was. I didn't think
This
it was.
is a big part of why I am about to bring up. You think Amgen cost a pretty penny? You think Taiwan's going to price you out? Well, your boy's got you. He's making sure you are not priced out. We are going TGB, Maddie. TGB, a small.
If you don't like those
tactical-
$300 stock spreads, we got a
You're gonna
penny
love
stock
this
for
$5
you, baby.
baller.
That's
You're
right.
gonna love this $5
Would you consider
baller.
this trash that makes cash, or is it all started with the penny stock? Which
It
one?
all started with a penny stock,
It
bro.
all started with the penny stock. It's a growth story, mind you.
It's a
Talk to
growth
me about
story.
it.
It's a growth story. This is a really intriguing look. When you just look at it at first glance on the daily, I think it kind of speaks for itself. You had the big breakout, little consolidation, inside action really all this week off of last Friday's candlestick. So just that was a big move, right? I mean, make no mistake about it. These guys went from 420 to 520. A dollar move on a $4 stock is not nothing, right? So it deserved a break after such impressive movement. If you pull back a little bit more into the longer term time frames, you will see that these guys have been much higher, but we're going way back in the day, right? Way back in the day. I'm kind of looking back into the 07 to 2011 time period where they spent a little bit of time in the six and half a coffee break at the $7 level. What that tells me is I got an area, because these are a copper miner. I got an area in copper that's showing a little something that's catching my attention. I've got a stock that, forget about this being copper. If I knew nothing about TGB, this is a pretty nice breakout of a multiple, like bolt breakout of a range, right? We were sideways throughout all of October. We got a little ascending triangle look, breakout, secondary pattern. If I had $1 for every time Matt told me that, I could just retire. I could buy all the TGB. So very clean secondary pattern. So when you add the clean secondary pattern to the overall story that's going on technically there with copper, and then the fact that, to my eyes at least, there's legitimately no reason why these guys don't get to $6. There's nothing in our path. If we can take out these highs, anything might develop, right? That's technical analysis. But until it does, I'm going to assume that if it breaks out of this level, and I expect it to do so, that it works into the next level. And as we get into that $6, it's got like $6, $6.40 and 70 or 77. Well, yeah, we'll hit 70 eventually here on TGB. You just really, really open up. And what I really like about this scenario is if we build around the last 4 candlesticks, meaning we're getting in above the high and below the low, that 9 catches up. The second we break out, Maddie, you know that 9's caught up there, right? So we've got
on day one of the breakout,
like
at
on
this
day one,
point,
like
moving
when it
on, that nine's
happens.
there.
Yeah, when it happens, you have it. You've got the low of the base on the intraday playing above the high. You are right at the 2-to-1 risk to reward to $6. And then you can say, okay, where's the next challenge that I see? The big one is 7, right? That's lofty expectations, but copper can run too. And if silver's taught us anything, is don't forget some of these other metals can run, right? You do have something in the general vicinity of around 340. So it'd be one of those scenarios where it's $6, there's my 2-to-1 trade. I do a little profit taking, get risk off, get stopped to break even at worst, right? And then let her rip, because I don't think 7's outrageous. I know I realistically need copper's help to get there. right? I don't think it can do it without copper. I think it might be able to get to 6 without copper really doing too much, as long as it doesn't like tank. But beyond 6, you probably do need copper's assistance. But if you work into the mid 6s, I mean, you're now at a 3-to-1, 3.5-to-1
At
trade.
6, this is a really good trade. Like
At 6, it's a really good trade. At 7 or beyond 6, it becomes a really great trade, right? If we can somehow make it to
What
7,
strategy are you thinking? Shares here?
you're just playing shares. It's a $5
shares?
baller. I didn't even bother looking at the option chain. I mean,
they're not liquid.
their stock is very liquid, but I'm not popping calls on a $5 stock, right? That just, to me, doesn't make any sense. So this is shares play over the high, under the low of the week. That 9 catches up. Target 6 as kind of the target, right? And then keep an eye on that 640, that 7. But I'm interested in seeing where momentum can take us, because while those are, pretty, the $7 is pretty big swing here. They've been higher before. And if they get through 7, that's going to be, what I do when I see charts like that, Maddie. I draw eyeballs on my monthly chart and a nose, right? Make them smile at me. So this could be a story that turns into more than that. Yes, we're probably talking about different trades along the way beyond $7 if we get there. But it's a real compelling story. Great risk to reward, really clean in an area that I think might be catching a bid.
The weekly chart here screams a $6 test.
Yes, it does. It does.
Screams a $6
100%
test.
agree with that.
Almost like there's a little bit of a magnet up there, a little bit. Very, very interesting setup. Team, which one do you like? Do you like it? All started with the penny stock with TGP tying it to the copper analysis to a certain extent. In the Traders Lounge earlier today, we were breaking down a whole bunch of copper plays out there. Hudson Bay looked absolutely
HPM looks
fantastic.
nice, really nice. We're looking
TGP for it all started with the penny stock crowd to FCX with the glorious cash flow systems. There was a lot of copper conversation in the lounge here today, and there's a lot of different options for everybody.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. Very, very intriguing, and lots of different ways. I do like Hudson Bay, especially if you think in kind of a real position trade. FCX, we all know how awesome they are for cash flow, right? So some real lookers out there. If copper can maintain that.
Would you, if you could only take one of the trades, would you take the bull call spread on Amgen multiple time frame breakout with open air, or would you take the pure swing trade out of TGB up to $6, or what?
Well, as the person
$6, I'm not saying $6 is the end point. I'm just saying that's kind of
that's but that is a point. That is a point you're absolutely watching. As the guy who coined the phrase small dollar baller, I gotta stick with my small dollar baller, right? I just can't not do that. Although I do very much like that Amgen breakout. I think that is very, 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 very clean. But I'm gonna stick with the small dollar baller and see where these bad boys want to go.
Bobby,
because sometimes these things turn into more.
Right? He got you on round
they turn
1.
Into less.
He actually got you to agree with him on round 1. Does he get you again here? What's your thoughts, Amgen? Are you sticking with Amgen, or are you turncoating over to TGB here?
I'm actually going to stick with Amgen just because I
kind of felt he had to after that one, Frankie.
But I will say, Frank, when we were back in the day when we were doing coaching, he did sell me on the $5 ballers and the little lunch.
Frankie has loved the $5 baller for a long time.
A lot of different $5 ballers have come and gone.
His biggest headache in the world right now is he doesn't have a $5 gold stock.
I used to have a giant. I used to have a giant list of things that were $5, $6, $7, and he
used to find those cheapies all the time, and now it's like, nope, you got to do something different.
It's really bad when you have to ask KGC to split, right?
All right, my turn.
Your turn.
I think what Tremont said is accurate for me. I like them both, but that healthcare chart stands out to me. Like it really does.
It should.
And if healthcare confirms when Amgen is right at a high consolidation base breakout, and you get a pullback to confirm with Amgen holding firm against that resistance level, pop. So I kind of like the totality of the conversation
I
on the
like it.
healthcare
Just
space and
more
the
more
ag
shares
gym,
of
but
TGB for
I,
me
I
is
I'm
all
also
I'm
kind of
hearing.
with Mike there as well.
More
Like
shares
why
for
not
us.
on the TGB? Like it's a great technical setup. I don't have much understanding of this company. I really don't care because it's got a compelling weekly chart
Yep.
and it's got a really good high base and you can go right above 531 with the stop right underneath 5, ride the 9. Let's see what momentum happens
Yes,
here.
sir.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And you know what else I love? I love as last week we didn't have a trade match last week, but we had a lot of traders lounges and all that
Hmm.
jazz with the pros. And the week before that, a lot of the market was it's just not ready. It's just not ready. It's just not ready. It's just not ready. It's going to take a little bit of time. And now that it is getting ready, like setups are out there and they're
Set up around me.
clean.
Yeah.
And if you want to go find a material play, they're out there. If you want to go find a healthcare play, they're out there. You want to go find a staples play, there's a lot out there. You want to go find a consumer discretionary play. Guess what? The consumer's apparently not dying, which is what the market told us today on AEO and almost every other consumer facing earnings report here today. It's getting a little short up. I will say one thing though, good proper development is one thing, coming to the proper conclusion and breaking out is another. And that's what we're looking at right here. Levels are known, confirmation levels are known, and we're going to navigate this as a team in the Traders Lounge at Tackle Trading every single day. So if you love Trade Masters, you love the conversation, you love the tackle community, come join us every single day as we have these awesome conversations as a team navigating the financial world as a community of like-minded traders and investors. And with that said, I have an awesome webinar. Frankie, this will be my third one in 3 weeks. Did the
Yep.
AI
Been
gold
killing them,
rush
bro.
last week? I
Been killing
love
them.
that topic. It's one
Oh,
of my
yes.
favorite topics. By the way, these webinars are like my children. I love them all, and it's hard to pick my favorite one, to be honest with you. Um, the one where I can just kind of open it up and have a great conversation is the AI Gold Rush. Absolutely love that conversation. The week last week, the week before that, we did Precision Trader, which is swing trading. And then on Monday, we're going to be getting into day trading, looking at those intraday levels, thinking about trading from an intraday side of the equation. Then we got Master Trader. This is a great time to tackle trading. It's education season, which we call the holiday season, but for us that is education. And so if you're looking to join the tackle trading community, this is an absolute great time to do that. Hit the link in the description. Hit the link, the live events page. Join me in day trading next week. And as you're on that live events page, remember the replays of last week's AI Gold Rush and the week before Precision Trader. They are up on the live events page as well. Team, thank you so much for coming out
Absolutely.
to
Thank you,
Trade
team.
Masters. You are the absolute best part of everything we do at Tackle Trading. And without you and your support, we are absolutely nothing at this amazing place we call Tackle. And so just wanted to tell you how much we appreciate everything our team brings every single day, every single week. Our team's there in those traders lounges, sharing ideas, sharing picks, all participating in the conversation. Absolutely love it. So just wanted to say thank you for being the best part of Tackle Trading. And if you love Trade Masters, hit that like on the way out the door. Tell somebody else about it. And with that said, we'll see you next week, same time, same channel, same great picks. Later on, team. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.